Yes. Greetings, Your Highness. My name is Tom Goldtooth. I am the Director of the Indigenous Environmental Network. This discussion is very important, this listening and establishing protocols for future dialogue with your initiative that I understand that you were able to develop that I see establishes the process of compassion to address the formation of a coalition of the willing. My homeland is in the Great Lakes of the United States. We are only a stone throw away from Canada. Our own colonial history has divided our indigenous peoples. Some live on Canada's side, some live on the United States side. We came together real strong in 2016 to the first couple of months in 2017 to fight a proposed pipeline of frack oil from the Bakken oil field. You've probably seen this incident on global TV, where we were successful in lifting up a global meme around water of life, around Mini Wichoni, but the water of life that comes from our mother when she is giving birth to our babies, when the water is released. So we recognize that from the beginning of time of the importance of the link between our women, our grandmothers, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, and the relationship to the Mother Earth. They're one and the same. And I want to say that land has always been the issue. Wherever there has been the imposition of colonization and occupation of our land and territories, not only where I live in the north, but in the south and in the east and the west, all parts of the world. So this discussion of how do we engage and establish protocols in terms of reference and how we work together with the coalition of the willing. We are definitely concerned with our spiritual authorities from where I live on the concepts of using nature as capital. We have had much discussion where I live and other indigenous spiritual leaders from Canada, United States, Alaska, about this discussion, and they've been very concerned on how the world and economics and capitalism, I will use that term capitalism, and how it's starting to incentivize and go into an arena of using what we call the financialization of nature. And it's very critical to us is that sometimes has led to a violation of the sacred, to put a price to the air, carbon trading, or even the price to the biodiversity in exchange for an extractive industry to offset its devastation here, and then they invest over here on restoration, but that offsets their continued development. We're here to begin a respectful dialogue on how we can engage, how can we have terms of reference for expressing our indigenous voices. So that's what we're here to establish principles of dignity with your initiative. Thank you.
Olá, bom dia. Eu sou a Sonia Guajajara, eu sou uma liderança, mulher guerreira indígena do Brasil. Quero agradecer pela oportunidade de estar aqui com todos vocês, mas saudar também de forma especial todos os meus parentes e parentas indígenas que estamos aqui como convidados para esta mesa. Certamente que a nossa preocupação aqui são muito semelhantes, né, porque toda essa situação de exploração dos territórios indígenas, da violação dos direitos indígenas, eles estão acontecendo igualmente em todas as partes do mundo. Nós estamos aqui para defender os nossos direitos, porque a perda de direito não atinge somente direitos, mas é uma preocupação com o futuro de toda a humanidade. É o nosso futuro que está em jogo. Estamos aqui trazendo também um chamado da Mãe Terra, porque ela está gritando. E nós estamos querendo que essa voz ecoe em todas as fronteiras enquanto ainda há tempo. Trago aqui uma mensagem das mulheres indígenas do Brasil, as guerreiras da ancestralidade. A colonização tentou enterrar nossos corpos e soterrar nossas cosmologias. Mas estamos aqui para dizer que é urgente essa mudança no modelo econômico. E somar força, né? E nos conectar com a sua energia, a nossa espiritualidade. Esse chamado é urgente. Sou uma liderança ameaçada pelo governo brasileiro. Minha família está ameaçada pelo governo brasileiro. As lideranças estão morrendo no Brasil simplesmente por fazermos a luta em defesa da Mãe Terra. E nós não vamos desistir. Estamos aqui para somar forças com toda a rede, com toda a comunidade internacional e assumir esse compromisso junto com o senhor e junto com o Reino Unido para ajudar a proteger nossos povos e nossas florestas e assim juntos salvarmos a Mãe Terra. Bolsonaro está apresentando aqui que vai acabar com o desmatamento ilegal no Brasil até 2030. Isso para ganhar credibilidade dos países que estão querendo investir na proteção das florestas no Brasil. E o que de fato ele vai fazer é legalizar o desmatamento. E dessa forma acaba o desmatamento ilegal porque vai legalizar. Então é muito importante que os países estejam alertas a isso. E para concluir, faço aqui um chamado para o Reflorestar Mentes. As mulheres indígenas convidam toda a humanidade para reflorestar os pensamentos, as ideias e os corações. Reflorestando a consciência da humanidade, nós vamos reflorestar os territórios y garantir la continuidad de la vida en el planeta. Obrigada.
Luego de las palabras de mi hermana Sonia, yo también quiero hablarle a su corazón, al corazón de todos ustedes. Mi respeto como autoridad indígena de la Amazonía, presento mi respeto a usted como autoridad de este país. Venimos de la selva tropical más grande del planeta, con el único objetivo de tocar su corazón, de llegar a su pensamiento y a su acción, de conectar con su energía, para que puedan salir grandes ideas y grandes acciones, pero juntos. Estamos aquí porque queremos salvar el bosque tropical más grande del planeta, que es nuestra casa. Allí vivimos. Allí está nuestro alimento, nuestra agua, nuestro aire para respirar. Y ahí viven miles, millones de seres vivos. Debajo del agua, encima de los árboles, en las montañas. Hay seres vivos que no pueden estar aquí con ustedes hoy. Hay seres vivos que no pueden decir que los están incendiando, que los están contaminando, que los están matando. Y estamos aquí porque quizás no va a haber otra oportunidad de hablar. Pero queremos regresar con una palabra de esperanza de ustedes. Queremos regresar sabiendo que ustedes van a luchar por sus hijos, por su familia, por este planeta, por la selva amazónica. Solo queremos que con su palabra, con sus acciones, con lo que puedan hacer por esos millones de seres vivos de la cuenca amazónica, nosotros estamos pidiendo que salvemos el 80% de nuestra casa. El 80%. Que el 20% ya está destruido de la Amazonía por este modelo de desarrollo. Queríamos hacer un esfuerzo de que este modelo económico de desarrollo, queremos que haya un diálogo con la sabiduría de los pueblos indígenas y nuestra forma de conservar. Tenemos miles de años conservando la selva amazónica, pero este modelo de desarrollo quiere destruirlo. Solo queremos construir una visión desde la economía de ustedes, cómo ven el desarrollo y que nos permitan que nuestro conocimiento puedan sanar nuevamente la selva amazónica. Tiene que haber un diálogo allí y tiene que haber algunas acciones. Ojalá nos puedas ayudar. Gracias.
Right, last but certainly not least, Vicky, please.
My name is Vicky Tauli-Corpuz. I am a Kankanaay Igorot from the Cordillera region in the Philippines. And I used to be the UN Special Rapporteur on the rights of indigenous peoples. I remember I met you, I think 5 years ago in the High Grove Estate, where I gave you a copy of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, because you showed to me your agroecology in that estate, and I was very impressed with that. Well, I would just like to say that I was saying earlier that I looked through the 10 approaches that you have adopted for the sustainable markets, and I really like those approaches that were mentioned. One of the approaches that I've seen is the issue of standards. No, you call on the developing common metrics and standards. No, and I would like to say at the outset that there are already standards that have been established, the international minimum standards for the respect and protection of indigenous peoples' rights. And this is the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. No, this was adopted in 2007 by the General Assembly, and we hope that you will have a chance to look into that minimum standards, because this really contains all the rights that we are. We think are inherent rights, our inherent collective rights, which of course includes respect for our lands, territories, and resources, and obtaining our free prior informed consent whenever any project or investment comes into our territories. The other thing is, of course, the solutions. You mentioned about solutions, about game-changing technologies that should be put in place. Of course, we are also for innovations and technologies that will bring about more sustainability, but also technologies that will monitor what is happening in our territories, whether our ancestral domains, our territories are enhancing the biodiversity that's there. As you may know, 80% of the world's biodiversity in forests are found in indigenous territories, even if we just occupy 5% of the land, the total land of the world. No, but that tells us that we have the technologies, we have the traditional knowledge, and the governance systems that allowed for us to maintain those that biodiversity, which the world badly needs. No. And so I think that in the solutions, you have to also recognize that there are technologies, innovations, and knowledge of indigenous peoples that can indeed contribute to solving the crisis. So I would like to also stress that there should be a step. Corporations, the businesses should prevent the criminalization and the assassinations that are happening to indigenous peoples. The latest Global Witness report shows that 4 people are killed every day, and out of the 290 killed last year, 30% of those are indigenous leaders. So I just like to appeal that this will be stopped.
It's a great, great pleasure to have this opportunity of meeting you all. I met some other representatives of indigenous people 2 days ago, I think, in the main building. And I just wanted to say that I go back rather a long way on all these things and all your concerns, because it was back in 1992, I think, that I managed to have a gathering in the Amazon on board the old Royal Yacht Britannia, to which the then President of Brazil came, and various other ministers and NGOs and representatives. And this was just before the Rio Earth Summit all those years ago. And one of the things I've been trying to say for so long is that we need to listen to the wisdom and understanding and the spirituality of indigenous people around the world. In fact, I tried over 30 years ago to encourage the development of a means of collating the the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding amongst so many indigenous people around the world before they might have been lost. But I could never raise enough support. But also I've tried to get across the point that in the modern world we've lost that all-important sense of the sacred. We've lost that sixth sense, if you know what I mean, which should have warned us not to do what we've been doing for so long to the world around us and to nature. Now, of course, it's taken such a long time for people finally to be aware of the catastrophe that has been engineered by not listening to your wisdom and knowledge. Therefore, the whole aim and objective of this Sustainable Markets Initiative, as I see it, is to bring together all those people who now do seem to understand the problem and are also anxious to do something about it with the enormous amounts of money that the private sector has. But I've only put it together to ensure that whatever is done in the right way and the most nature-positive way and the way in which it can actually listen to and honour the kind of wisdom you have. So we have managed to establish some smaller projects for biodiversity regeneration, regenerative agriculture, agroforestry, linked to smallholder farmers and local communities as living laboratories, we call them, to prove the concept by recreating exactly what you're talking about. And what we're trying to do is to develop the kind of natural capital investment projects which could make, we hope, an enormous difference, particularly in all the degraded land that there is around the world, to bring that back to life again, together with opportunities and livelihoods for people and the local people. So I hope that as a result of this and you coming here, that we can develop the kind of links and contacts which are so critical. But we haven't got long to do it. I understand that because of the vulnerabilities and the existing problems you're facing. This, I feel underdressed. Yeah.